Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we will see the history of the powerful Aztecs. Let's go. Picture a wandering people drifting through deserts and mountains, guided by a divine promise. These were the Aztecs, also known as the Mexica, a semi-nomadic tribe that, around the 12th century, embarked on a long journey from a mythical land called Aztlan. Shrouded in mystery, this name conjures images of a lost paradise, a land of abundance and crystal-clear waters, whose exact location faded into legend. But if Aztlan was their birthplace, the Valley of Mexico would be their destiny, and the path between them was carved by fate itself. The journey was anything but easy. As outsiders, the Aztecs were met with suspicion by the more established peoples they encountered. Pushed from land to land, forced to live as mercenaries or servants, they endured hardship and humiliation. Yet they never let go of the sacred prophecy they carried, a vision that would reveal their destined home. They were to find an eagle, proud and fierce, perched atop a cactus, devouring a serpent. This would be the sign from Huitzilopochtli, the god of war, marking the place where they were meant to build their great city. Time passed, challenges grew, and hope flickered like a flame in the wind. Until one fateful day, as they reached a swampy island in the middle of Lake Texcoco, they saw it, the prophesied vision. A majestic eagle, wings spread wide like the rising sun, sinking its sharp talons into a writhing serpent. To any other people, this marshland would have seemed a curse. But to the Aztecs, it was the fulfillment of their divine promise. And so, in 1325, Tenochtitlan was born, a jewel upon the lake, a city that would defy nature itself. With chinampas, ingenious floating gardens, they transformed stagnant waters into fertile fields. With raised causeways, they connected their island sanctuary to the mainland. With towering temples, they lifted their faith toward the heavens. Thus, a people once seen as wanderers, outcasts, and outlaws laid the foundations for one of Mesoamerica's greatest empires. In the beating heart of Tenochtitlan, every man and woman carried the weight of their own destiny, but not equally. Aztec society was like a vast pyramid, and each individual stood on a step carved by birth, war, or the favor of the gods. At the very top, beyond the reach of most, stood the Huitlatawani, the great speaker. Yet he was more than a mere ruler. He was the chosen of the gods, the earthly embodiment of Tezcatlipoca, the lord of the smoking mirror. His piercing gaze and commanding words were law, his very presence an omen. Just beneath him, forming the backbone of the empire, was the Pipiltin, the noble class. They were generals, priests, and administrators, the guardians of cosmic and political order. They lived in stone palaces, wore finely embroidered cotton robes, and adorned themselves with jade jewelry and shimmering quetzal feathers. On the battlefield, they led armies. In the temples, they offered sacrifices to ensure the sun would continue to rise. Further down, sustaining the empire with the sweat of their calloused hands, were the Mesoamerican, the commoners. Farmers, artisans, merchants, and low-ranking warriors, they built the temples, tilled the land, and kept the markets bustling with exotic goods from across the empire. Their lives were demanding, but there was a promise. Through skill and bravery, a warrior could rise, earning land, wealth, and even a place among the nobility. At the base of the pyramid, trapped in the shadows of fate, were the Klatin, the slaves. Yet their servitude was not always a dead end. Many were prisoners of war or debtors unable to pay what they owed, but unlike in many other societies, they had the chance to buy their freedom, own property, and even start families. For some, slavery was not a life sentence, but a temporary fall, a step on the uncertain staircase of Aztec society. And so, each person played their part, like living pieces on a divine chessboard, where glory and ruin were determined not only by human ambition, but by the gods watching from the towering heights of their sacred pyramids. Amidst the bustling markets of Tenochtitlan, vibrant colors and intense aromas filled the air, revealing a world where food was more than mere sustenance. It was an offering to the gods, a tribute to the cycle of life. And at the heart of this culinary universe stood a sacred grain, maize. More than just nourishment, maize was a divine gift, shaped by the hands of Senteol, the god of harvests. From the irrigated fields to the tables of both the humble and the noble, its presence was absolute. It became soft tortillas, the foundation of every meal, or tamales carefully wrapped in leaves, ready to fuel warriors and farmers alike. When mixed with water and flavored with herbs or honey, it transformed into atole, a warm and nourishing porridge, perfect for starting the day. But the Aztec table was not ruled by maize alone. Beans provided protein, squash brought sweetness and sustenance, and chili peppers, the chili peppers, set dishes ablaze, burning in the mouth like the very fire of Xiuhtli, the god of flames. Tomatoes, still unknown to the rest of the world, added a bittersweet touch, forming the soul of sauces that would one day become the foundation of modern Mexican cuisine. Proteins came from diverse sources, some of which might seem unusual to modern eyes. Lake Texcoco provided fish and waterfowl, while the forests and mountains teemed with small mammals like rabbits and armadillos. But the Aztecs also relished unique delicacies: crispy insects, plump and juicy larvae, even axolotls, amphibians that swam through the calm waters of the floating city. Everything was part of the natural balance, an artful use of the earth's and water's gifts. And then there was the most coveted treasure, reserved for nobles and victorious warriors: cacao. Small brown beans that not only nourished but also served as currency, valued as highly as gold. When ground and mixed with water, they became xocol, a strong, bitter drink spiced with chili and vanilla, said to invigorate the body and sharpen the mind. It was not sweet, nor was it gentle. It was a potion of power, a nectar worthy of the gods. Every meal, every ingredient carried a story, a meaning, an echo of the past that still lingers in the flavors that now travel the world. To the Aztecs, the world was no free gift. It existed at the cost of sacrifices, of spilled blood, of a fragile balance upheld by the will of the gods. From the earliest days of creation, the gods had immolated themselves to shape the sky, the earth, the sun, and the moon. Time did not flow on its own. It was driven by the tribute of men. At the pinnacle of the pantheon stood Huitzilopochtli, the god of war, the sun, and destiny. It was he who had guided the Aztecs to Tenochtitlan, and it was for him that blood had to flow upon the altars of the pyramids. His daily battle against the darkness demanded energy, and that energy came from the still-beating hearts offered in his name. Not far behind was Tezcatlipoca, the lord of the smoking mirror, a god of duality, fate, and deception, the one who granted power and stripped it away without warning. And soaring across the heavens like a divine wind was Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, patron of knowledge, life, and renewal. Each ruled over their own domain, but all shared a common need: offerings. And so the Aztecs built temples that pierced the sky and conducted rituals that would terrify any outsider. Atop the pyramids, priests, their bodies painted black and adorned with vibrant feathers, wielded obsidian blades sharp as promises. Hearts were torn out, lifted high while they still pulsed, a living testament to absolute devotion. Sacrifice was not an act of cruelty, but a sacred duty, a covenant between gods and men to keep the universe turning. But Aztec culture was not forged in blood alone. Music and dance filled the plazas. Codices illustrated the tales of kings and heroes, and poets recited verses on the fleeting nature of life, comparing it to a delicate flower that blooms at dawn only to wither by dusk. Time was fleeting, glory was temporary, but as long as the temples stood and the gods were honored, the sun would continue to rise. Tenochtitlan gleamed like a jewel set in the mirrored waters of Lake Texcoco. Its pyramids pierced the sky, its markets pulsed with life, and its streets formed a labyrinth of colors, aromas, and voices. At the height of the 16th century, the Aztec Empire was a colossus, a mighty machine powered by tribute, warfare, and devotion to the gods. But even the most formidable empire can crumble when the right storm gathers on the horizon. In 1519, that storm arrived. It came from the east, riding on the backs of unknown beasts, men clad in metal, speaking a foreign tongue, wielding weapons that spat fire and thunder. Hernán Cortés and his Spaniards set foot on Aztec land like specters of an inescapable fate. But they did not come alone. With them, they carried an invisible army, viruses and bacteria that would ravage the native population faster than any sword. The Huaytlatoani Montezuma, surrounded by ominous omens, hesitated. The priests whispered that perhaps this pale man was the incarnation of Quetzalcoatl, returning to reclaim his throne. As the empire wavered, Cortés wove alliances. The Tlaxcaltecs, the Totonacs, peoples who had long lived under the weight of Aztec rule saw the Spaniards as an opportunity for vengeance. And so, an empire that had once seemed unshakable began to rot from within. When battle erupted, the streets of Tenochtitlan were soaked in blood. During this massacre at the Templo Mayor, priests and nobles were slaughtered in the midst of sacred ceremonies. Montezuma perished in the chaos, stoned to death by his own people. The Spaniards were driven out of the city in the Night of Sorrows, but they returned stronger. In 1521, they encircled Tenochtitlan, cutting off its supplies, leaving it at the mercy of starvation and smallpox. When the city finally fell, Lake Texcoco no longer reflected the glory of the Aztecs, only smoldering ruins and bodies strewn across the streets.